Hello, everybody, and welcome to another installation of the Beyond Wall Street podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Bowers, and today I got Bobby Capo with me, or the Colonel, as we call him. Go ahead and say hi.
How's everybody doing? Good to hear. Good to see.
Very well, hopefully. Just give us a little bit of your background, Robert, and just let them know who you are and where you've been and what you've done.
I've been in sales for about 30 years, approximately 20 of which were with a company called Central Florida Investments. Did very, very well with them. Got to save lots of money in my 401k and do all the traditional things that one thinks they're supposed to do when they have a decent position or any position to save money. Was with them for quite a while. Been in leadership, started my own company, a couple of companies actually, had a cafeteria for about 8.5 years, telecom company called Worldwide Communications for about 3 years, real estate license, insurance license, just the entrepreneurial mindset, I guess, after my corporate ride came to an end, when I finally realized I was tired of trading dollars for hours or hours for dollars, and went back to my entrepreneurial roots.
Awesome. So pretty much a little dabble in everything you can think of. Lots of experience in a lot of places. That's what we like here. Right before we get started, everybody remember we are an affiliate of WH Steiner as well as Skyline Financial. At the end of the video, if you can just give us a like, comment, subscribe, help jog that algorithm, help us reach out many more people, get this information out there to whoever needs it. Really be appreciated. Shares are awesome. As well as we'll have the links in our calendar for both me and Bobby. That way, if you'd like to schedule with us, you're able to do that. So today, you'd like to talk about your personal experience with your own 401k, as well as kind of the housing market crash and how it affected it in 2008 and where that left you, correct?
Sure. That was a very, very real experience for our family. We were doing very well. We had a property out in South Florida. We had what you would think is the ideal scenario with the white picket fence and looking for that second property and saving and doing all what you thought was the right things. And when 2008 happened, everything took a turn. I was fortunate not to lose my job, you might say, but everyone took some income hits and everyone had to readjust. So I had to look at my 401k as a solution to help bail me out. When I looked at my 401k, I realized that in a period of days, I had lost 43% of my total value. After I calculated the 25%, I think it was, penalty, and not to mention taxes and everything, I realized that may not have been the best savings vehicle for my family to weather crisis in the event of any kind of a situation. And it forced me to kind of re-educate myself to make sure that never happened to me again, and looking for various financial instruments that could weather that type of storm. So I had lost faith in not necessarily the stock market per se, but lost faith in what we were taught was traditional savings vehicles like 401k and things of that nature, because it impacted me directly. To find instruments like an IUL, a financial instrument that actually has a safety net tied into it in such a way that you'd not only not lose any of that very hard earned nest egg, but you actually can earn in negative markets. Not only are you earning 25 basis points, but for all your hard work and that money that's there at the end of the year, you're getting a point on top of that. So I started asking myself, where in my right mind can, in a down market, a spiraling economy, you earn 1.25 on your money? That was question one. Question two was, where else can I put my money where when that does happen, I don't lose a dime? I have access to my money. I'm not asking permission. I'm not penalized for these processes. the answer was very, very clear. It was almost not just an aha moment, but with the trumpets and the sound in the background and the angels and the bright lights and everything. And it was like, that's where I want to be. And I decided to immerse myself completely, hook, line, and sinker into that, and to tell as many people as possible, because it's like the best kept secret regarding growing your money, in a very safe environment, and in an environment where you can actually create legitimate, lucrative wealth generationally, create tax havens. It's just, there's a barrage of goods that I wish I knew this when I was your age, Nathan. I'd already be a multimillionaire.
Well, sadly, they didn't, they didn't have it yet.
Yeah.
But
Wow. You're insinuating how old I am.
well, I did write some talking points down while you were giving your opening there. I want to hit. So you have that experience at a financial planning institution where everybody, because everybody's 401ks, whether it's through your work, one of these companies deals with them. One of these companies runs them. If you're blindly giving that money in your 401k at work and don't know where it's at and who's managing it, someone like you was at at one of those institutions. So I want to ask, how did you guys go about planning? What was the culture there as far as when you got these account holders? Was it just to make them money, or were you actually making a plan?
Being very candid, it wasn't in any way what you would call traditional investments. We were literally tying it into vacation properties, and it was more of a direct sale. It was a hostile sale, if you will. It wasn't, we're managing your money, not at all. It was transactional, very transactional. Not the environment for me per se. And I was never a financial advisor. Let's be clear. That is not what I did. I did a lot of training in sales. I did a lot of the, not managerial, but more logistical stuff when it came to the sales efforts, if you will. And I can tell you that it was just very generic. It's not the environment that I want to put my life savings. It's
Get the money and
managed.
run.
It's yeah, that's more the environment that I got from it. And there was a lot less more about you. It was more about them, if you will. And I don't want to in any way bash any market, because that's every company has different cultures, and
Right.
and that culture, that company did not in any way have any negative culture. That's not what I'm saying. It's just, it's a sales environment, and the sales environment, you have you conclude with a sale, and period.
I think especially to go off what you're talking about wasn't for you, and that's where it's not for me, because I feel like we have a higher purpose when we're dealing with people. When they're trusting me to make a plan with them and they're going to give me this money, I want to make sure I talk about every possible option we have, so they know everything's aired out, so they know every possible way, shape, or form this could go down, and pick the one that they want to do.
The greatest joys that I've found working now on the other side of this market, where you actually serve the client, is the joy of turning the dials around and letting the client have such an active role in the end result, not just in the sacrifice of saving, but choosing how and when and how much, and the growth and the options, and having us just to kind of hold their hand on that process has been so fulfilling. It's really a joy. It's a joy.
Yeah, so I guess I'll lead into my next talking point. How has that changed since you've been here? How has that ideology changed? It wasn't for you when you were there. You knew it wasn't, but you didn't really know coming into it kind of what you were gonna go ahead and grasp when you got introduced to the IUL, probably.
I have to credit the W.H. Steiner methodology for that, because I came in with a very direct approach that's worked for me for over 30 years of a very direct sales process. Trust, need, help, hurry. It works with any product and any seller initiated sales process. And when I came across the way we do it now, the way we do it at the Steiner Institution, it was a joy. My interaction with clients completely transformed because they felt the sincerity behind our effort to truly provide a great end result for the family at whatever cost. That's our philosophy. That is what we want to portray, and I'm grateful for that, because it's given it, for me personally, I feel I serve now. I serve, and I wish I had somebody like that in front of me when I was filling out my 401k, and someone to say, hey, listen, there's an alternative. If you put it here, you might even have better growth, but more importantly, you're totally in control and you're safe, and it's there when you really need it. That would have been really, really important for me and hundreds of thousands of other Americans in 2008, and quite frankly, probably in the very near future, with the direction that we're going as an economy right now. So that being said, the education is here. Market protection insurance really does exist. It's not just a concept, and it's found in the IUL.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one thing I always say on this podcast is we're huge about culture and changing the culture about whether it's how you look at insurance or how you just a general household ideology about how to properly leverage your own money and save for retirement in the proper way, and everything you can do, and how proactive people aren't about that. Because why wouldn't you want someone like you or I, Robert, where you're like, hey, I want to do my job and do it really well and make sure everything's well-rounded, versus I'm going to go to work and I'm just going to give 4.5% of my check away and have no idea where the hell it's going. That doesn't make sense to me. And I feel like every time I talk to someone, I tell them that, and they're like, yeah, that really doesn't make sense. And then I go, well, let me do the job that they never did and tell you what this money would do if you reached $1 million. And we don't even know if you're on track for that, because there's no one's talking to you about it. No one's meeting with you. No one's having these conversations with you. So let me tell you all the questions you need to be asking, and let me show you. And I feel like once people see that, like, hey, I'm not just trying to shove a product down your throat and say, hey, get the application, sign dotted line. It's a, let's get educated. And if, I know this is going to be the right move for you and you're going to see that, but let me explain everything about it first. Let me get you on a full understanding. That way, if you're at the same level I am, we can make a great team and get you to places that you never thought you would be in 20, 30 years. And that's awesome to me. But I want to get back to the meat and potatoes of this. So your personal experience with your 401k, let's talk about, when you started it up to that massive crash in 2008. I'm sure you went through the whole dotcom bubble, three negative double-digit years in a row. Just explain that, because I have a lot of friends, maybe they watch this, that talk about, they're huge fans of the Roth, but they don't understand the market risk component of it.
I'm almost ashamed to say that back as I was building my little nest egg, or my family's little nest egg, I could tell you that I was not paying attention. I was just dumping it in. I was exceeding match. I was just utilizing it as a savings account, not even aware of the dramatic risk that was there. I knew where I was. I knew I was getting close to happy with how aggressive I was dumping into it. Seeing the number grow, not realizing that I was only getting matched at 6%. So it didn't matter if I put 10, 15, 20% of my salary in there. I really went about it without the financial education at the time required. So shame on me. I take full responsibility I should have been able to know that the market was about to crash, and maybe it'd be a good time to withdraw my 401k and just pay the taxes on it rather than
Yeah.
watch it evaporate before my eyes.
You would have
Um,
saved about 18.5% in that one
yeah,
year.
I'll be so candid with you. I was so wrapped up in the fact that the corporation didn't get their securitization of $400 million when the economy crashed, and that we were losing properties left and right. And we were in such financial disarray. The last thing I even looked at was my 401k. I had to let go of about 300 people in a span of a month. It was really a difficult time. I hadn't even looked at my 401k, and finally when it caught up to me and my salary got sliced by a third or a half and my budget got shambled out a little bit, and I looked, I was in shock. I compared last month's statement to the following month, and I went the negative by 43%, and I almost cried. You think that's going to bounce back in a week or a month, and it doesn't.
No,
It took quite
years.
a while. It takes years for that kind of recovery, and I didn't even have the time because I needed the money. So now not only I had to take what was left and pay the penalties on that and the taxes on that. So you can imagine what my net was after it was all done.
Yeah.
It was called a wet handkerchief.
Well, that's the thing people don't realize is a lot of the culture around it's like, oh yeah, the market goes down, it goes back up. Yeah, no big deal. But what you don't realize is when you hit negative 38%, save $100,000, you're down $38,000. You go up 38% the next year. Let's just say it goes up 38% the next year. You're not back at $100,000. You're making 38% off of, oh
Whatever.
gosh,
Exactly.
what's the math there?
Exactly.
Like 62.
62,000.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
not back there. I'm sorry. I don't want to crash your
Yeah.
party, but what is that?
And it'll take
3,800 for
several
every 10?
years. You could
Yeah,
have 3 or 4 double-digit years and still not crash.
you're just eclipsing 80,000 if it goes back 38% the exact next year. So it's going to take you, even if it does in that scenario, like three years. And that's if it bounces back 38, which I've never seen that on the graph in history from a negative year. It usually bounces back pretty good, but not,
Sure.
38's a huge hit. And when we talk about the market right now, that's where we're seeing if you talk to actual financial experts within the government and prominent individuals, they'll tell you it's coming. It's going to be ugly.
Well, this morning, another half a point, Nathan. Just this morning, the Fed announced they're raising everything another half a point to try and curb inflation, to try to get a handle on it. So, go figure.
And then the market's down. I forget. I don't know. I know yesterday it was 12.
They had a quick
12,
rally.
6.
They had a little quick rally, and then it's all over again. As soon as the Fed announced that they were going to be up half a point, there was a little bit of a rally. But those are little spikes. You can't react to a spike. You react to a spike, that's when you'll have a little bit of a consequence.
Yeah, and the difference between contributing during a down year in an IUL versus contributing in a down year to a 401k or an IRA, you're just, as soon as you put the money in from your check, you lose 15%. An IUL, it's you just still have that money you invested plus 1.125.
Well, 1.25. Yeah.
It's
like a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. And then the government can't touch it, regardless. God forbid you ever get sued for anything. That's safe. I mean, there's so many components and generational wealth. I mean, so you're
no
not
one can touch it but you.
Use your kids. Yeah, it's wonderful. It's just one of the best insurance product I've ever seen. I can't even call it an insurance product. It's a financial instrument with an insurance component.
And here's the thing, though. The government has let's talk about, let's air out the dirty laundry here. IULs, people say, oh, the cap rates, they could change the cap rates at any time. Great, your cash is so liquid in there, we'll just move it to another one. We can just cash it out with no penalty and just move it to another one. What? Tell me about that with your 401k. Me and Brandon were talking about this on the phone. The same thing for all you people hailing the Roth as the greatest thing ever. The government owns the rights to it, and they can change that tax-free component at any time. They can say, well, now it's only 70% tax-free. You're not paying any tax paying premiums in IUL. When you go do an individual Roth and you pay premiums, they tax it up front. You're still being taxed. You know, you're not taxing the harvest, you're taxing the seed, but do you want to be taxed at all?
At all.
In comparison, if I show you, I can give you an IUL with half the account value of a Roth or anything else, and you'll make almost with between a 401k, you'll make over double what you would in the 401. And in the Roth, you're still making more money. Like, what's your argument?
Yeah, there is none. There is
No.
none. It's mathematically sound. It's economically sound.
Math doesn't lies.
That's the thing.
You can
Math
think
doesn't lie.
someone's selling you, but if I show you numbers, math is not gonna like. There's numbers speak
That's
truth.
correct.
So I
100.
want to get to another key component of that 2008, where you talked about the market history. Big thing I hear from, buddies of mine that when, we get together and they talk about it is, oh, the market's the S&P 500's never done bad. And like, okay. First of all, he says, yeah, you make great money, but we're on a 13-year bull run right now, leading back to that 2008. You could have put your money anywhere and made money. Anywhere. It's been a straight bull run, other than maybe I think a minus 0.75% in 2016 and then now. But you don't play for those because history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. And is it going to rhyme bigger or smaller than 2008? Because we're in almost the same scenario with the real estate. And I have a lot of people talking to me about that. It's just,
sorry about that,
you're
Nathan.
talking about, no, you're fine. Another potential housing market crash. Just because the inflation's so high, they're throwing out, I was talking with a client about this. They're throwing out all these loans everywhere to anybody and everybody. Everybody's buying up all this cash. And you're talking about, with the inflation and 30 trillion in national debt and 86 trillion or higher in unfunded liabilities. Oof. You're talking the perfect storm. 08 was just predatory loans. You're talking a housing market crash and a stock market crash on the foreseeable future, and record inflation and the record national debt. Well, how are they going to fix it? They have to increase your taxes. If you're going to retire, why would you put all your money into a tax deferred account if it's looking like the taxable nuclear winter, down the road? It doesn't make any sense. And when you have people like us, come and explain these things to you. And if you don't do it, hey, it's no skin off my back. I'm doing my job. And if you can't see the light, that's not, it's nothing I can do. But to let you know about all your risk, that's, as long as you know about it now, you're fully aware and you make that decision, it's your call.
Nathan, in my experience with the folks that I've been having this conversation with, I've opened so many eyes. Mm-hmm. I'm just grateful that we are here, that we as a team are here, and that this is what we're talking about, because people really need to know, especially now. People aren't focused on this right now. They're focused on, which Kardashian is doing what, or what's happening in the Ukraine, and, which is important, obviously. However, what's happening within their bank accounts are extraordinarily important, because that's what's going to help them weather the storms that are coming. And if there's anything that can be told by 2008 and by the current climate, is if you have money in 401ks, if you have money in areas that are potentially volatile or vulnerable, then it's time. The IUL is here. These tools, these financial instruments that make a difference, that preserve wealth, grow wealth, are here, and it's time to take action. We can make the change for our generation and for generations to come with the money if we take better control of it.
Absolutely. It just takes 10 minutes to sit down with one of us and engage in just an educational conversation. And truth be told, if people are taking advantage of this, like the top 1% does, though, all the banks do, all companies do. Brandon was talking about last night on his webinar, all the companies who pull from life insurance policies to make huge purchases, they all leverage their cash and portion of their profits in there. Why aren't you?
That's right.
things evolve over time. Think about how much your phone's changed in the last 20 years. Well, in the last 40 years, the way you plan for retirement has changed. And I'll leave it at this before we start closing down. The founder of the 401k, Ted Banna, has said it's a monster. It needs to be destroyed. It was never meant to be an actual retirement plan. Why? Market risk, tax exposure, high tax exposure, and it's able to be changed. And then the fact that it's an accumulation vehicle. It's not meant for the flow out of cash. It's meant to build cash. It's not meant to pull it out.
It's not a distribution vehicle by no sense of the word.
Nope. And that's why when you do projections, I'll take $1 million in a 401k and it'll run out based off of the taking 5% out of it, 50,000 a year, you're taxed 24%. You're going to get, I think 36, somewhere 38, something like that. You get 38 after you pay your taxes. And with the market risk over the last 20 years, putting in the actual numbers, it runs out at age 78. You get 13 years out of it, of $38,000 a year. And then I show that to a client and I say, hey, we can make you a play that gives you 58,000 tax free a year, and it lasts till you die.
Nathan, I just sat with a 24-year-old who's a bartender and saved $8,000. She's going to put 4,000 of that into an IUL and pay $350 a month for 10 years only. For 10 years only, what most kids would pay for a new car times 2 for 10 years only. And she's going to have $71,000 a year starting at the age of 65 to 90.
Yep.
Just think about that for a moment. Financing 2 cheap cars, because we don't think about that. $350 a month for 10 years. And that young lady, and that's just one. She's saying, how many times can I do this? So if my economy changes, can I do a different one or another one and maybe have 2 of them if I can afford it? That means I'll have $140,000 a month when I retire. I said, absolutely. And that's tax free. I'm not paying any tax. No, that's tax free money. Her mind was blown.
Yep.
So what we do is, I feel so grateful to be here doing what we do. Nathan, we gotta keep doing this exposure you're doing, getting the message out. You're a hero to anybody listening, because maybe they're going to realize before it's too late, before the next 2008, and they'll make a good decision based on something that you're doing and putting this out there. So Nathan, thank you for taking the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I love doing it. I just want to watch this, this channel grow and just, see how many people you can affect, just because we know something that not even a lot of insurance agents know about. And everybody I talk to is like, well, how have I never heard about this? Because it doesn't get the market attention, because it's not backed by the government's not benefiting from it. It's not in every employer plan. I will say the last thing before I close this down, Robert, is what do we hear? Sounds too good to be true. You're telling me Uncle Sam's going to offer a match plan through your employer where they're going to give you free money as a benefit, and in 40 years you're going to retire? No, you're not, because go ask anybody with a 401k that's retired how long it lasted or how much what you should do. They'll tell you find something different or invest a lot more money.
Yeah, it's not the answer for sure.
It is not. Well, I want to thank you for jumping on here today, Robert, and hopefully I'll get you on a few more and just just keep doing what we're doing, making that
My
content. Like I said at the beginning of the video, everybody will have our links to our websites in the description, as well as a direct link to Robert if you'd like to take 15 minutes to talk to him, schedule on his calendar, video chat for educational purposes. You're able to do that. Any likes, shares, comments, subscribes on Twitch, whatever you can do to help promote this channel, we appreciate it. Any interaction with anything helps jog that algorithm, helps get us more viewer count, helps us grow. So we appreciate that. Again, Bobby, thank you for joining me today.
Nathan, thank you for having me.
Absolutely.